So, Mr. John Walsh, thanks for being here today on the Wealth Science channel, sponsored by CRM Science. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and you're going to have to help me because I've been next to your kiosk all week, and I'm going to mispronounce Incedo.
You nailed it, Joe.
All right.
Super.
So tell me, let's talk a little bit about you and Incedo.
Sure. Thank you, Joe. It's super. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat. It's been a pleasure kind of hanging out next to you all week. So my name is John Walsh. I lead the wealth management practice for Incedo. We are a mid-sized digital transformation specialist. So, we combine, consulting with platforms, with solutions to help our clients with a big focus in the wealth management business. So very exciting week to be here.
Awesome. And number one, number N, how many T3s have you been to and what attracted you to it, especially this year?
That's a great question. So this is our first.
Yeah. Okay. Same here.
So we're a newish firm.
Yeah.
And, we took a run at it. We were planning to go last year and it got moved because of COVID. But we had learned about the T3. We learned about the conference. It's really well known. It's maybe the largest, arguably the handful of the most significant conferences in the country around the wealth management industry. And we're a firm where we've been really privileged in having some amazing client relationships. We're not terribly well known. And so we thought this was an opportunity to come out, tell our story, get seen, get recognition, and meet other players in the industry.
Yeah. And you shared with me as we were preparing for the call, you shared with me a really great opportunity you had, your CEO had to get some recognition. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I'd love to. So our CEO, Nitin Seth, who Nitin and I have been friends for more than a decade. We're both ex-Fidelity executives. He wrote a book. His pandemic project was he wrote a book, Winning in the Digital Age. He came here. His talk was a lot hinged on his experiences and how we can help companies win. And we had the opportunity to have Nitin and Joel spend some time together talking about the deal, talking about the insights and just exchanging ideas, which may be the most powerful thing that happens in this conference.
Yeah. I mean, I always felt like back in the day, right, when these conferences would last to the wee hour of the mornings, I always felt like the most interesting ones came after 12. Thank goodness that doesn't happen anymore. We found a way to get it in between like 8 and 8.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So here we are at the end of 4 days. I'm thinking about some observations you may have. You're not allowed to tell me that you're tired because that one I've said many times. I don't feel like my conference legs are under me just yet.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, one or two observations from the past 4 days.
One, just an amazing amount of energy, in the place. I think it was a record attendance on it.
Yeah. 1,000 people. Yeah.
And I think there's a combination. One, for sure, it's going to be tied to, we've been locked in the house for a couple of years in some form or another. And we're just, we're ready to get out. I mean, humans are designed to interact and learn and be together. So this is an opportunity to do that. But I think maybe even more deeply is that I think the industry is just right on this edge of like a significant change and transformation. And you just kind of feel the will and the energy on, the technologies are there, the intentions there. It feels like there's like this expectation that this is just a turning point, in the industry, in the experience, and really kind of what's the priorities for the industry. So I think it's an amazing moment.
We were passing each other in the hallway. I think that's what got us both excited to have this conversation. I think you use that transformation. I use the word tipping point, and you looked like you're like, that's the word I was going to say. And I'm still fairly naive in this industry, but based on what I'm seeing, I think we are at a place a little bit because of COVID. There's some energy there. I think one organization mentioned earlier that it kind of forced people to use tools for those 2 years, so maybe that helped facilitate things. And now we're in a place where I really feel for the folks on the ground doing the work because there's so many choices, and I'm not so sure that even they understand what their options are. So I think that's one of the big things that we need to do for the industry is to continue to educate folks and help them understand that, sometimes these same two organizations are going to be competitors, but sometimes they're going to help each other. Yeah. I'm curious as to your thoughts on that, right?
I think that's a super observation. We talk as a firm about 5 shifts that are required to be successful in the digital age. It's simply, for the industry, it's moved from product to client focus.
Okay.
Really the digital age is defined around the client focus. There's a complexity to simplification. It is by inherent and by design. I actually think by the joy of the people in it, we built a very complex industry, complex structure. It's got to be simplified if we're going to have a digital age type of experience. The third one down the thing, it's an industry that's really been built on relationships. And relationships matter and trust is important, but it's data. I mean, the digital age is about data. That's the shift. The fourth is, the construct of the industry is there's a risk management focus. There's a real, there's a lot of incentives in the industry not to make mistakes. The digital age, the digital natives operate with, rapid experimentation, right? And rapid experimentation means you're looking to fail fast, learn, iterate, and keep going. And then the final one, your question is, it's not a go alone strategy. I mean, the success and the winners are going to create an ecosystem of collaboration and partners. And this weird thing in the digital age is sometimes we're talking as competitors, sometimes we're collaborators, sometimes we're going to market together. And we just all need to get our heads together that it's an ecosystem, and the design of the ecosystem we're constructing is for our customers.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great insight. We all come into T3 with expectations and plans. We interact with folks. We have conversations. One of the things that I always look forward to is what's the one or two things that I'm leaving with that says, oh, I didn't know a whole lot about that, or that's going to force me to think about it a little more. What, if anything, is top of mind as to things that you want to look a little deeper into?
Yeah, I think there's a couple. And so I think it's really the goal of these things. It's the learning, right? And so one is, wow. And I've been thinking and talking to, clients that we're on a tipping point. This is evidence. The tipping point's here. We need to start moving. The winners are going to be defined here shortly. The second, many of other suppliers are really starting to think deeply about the customer experience layer on what do customers want, the ease of navigation and use for our advisors on behalf of their customers. What's absent is, and people are even acknowledging it in their talk, is they haven't connected the experience to the data. And so the digital age, the formula, if you go to look at the digital natives, their formula is it's anchored on customer experience, right? The whole digital natives, they solve, the business is built not by great products, it's built by solving customer pain points. And customer pain points are solved by focus on the experience, plus the technology that enables the experience outcome to be tied to the data. And the data gets picked up, the signals, the insights, the action that fulfill the experience. So I'm leaving here that people are really leaning in heavy and thinking about the experience is great, but just kind of hoping the data thing just kind of goes away or gets solved by others.
I love it. Yeah. And I think most of them want, if I play that back around the data anyway, folks on the ground doing the work want to have someone else interpret the data for them and then help them make those decisions that are, I guess, again, customer experience based.
Yeah. And we talk about, there's, folks who are, we're focused on the customer experience, and we almost have another group of folks, distinct group of folks trying to solve the data. And, and we badge people inside the companies. We say, it's either someone, a leader in the company, or we go hire an expert. We put a badge on and say, hey, you're going to be our chief data transformation officer. Right. And they gather a bunch of people and we get people in technology in the business, and we always have some kind of people are passionate about it, and they get together and they start working up the stack. Okay, let's think about the data infrastructure. Then I'm going to think about, where the data is and how I'm going to pull it into it. And then we're going to start having these great, intense conversations around kind of the governance around the data. What the outcome is, you go back, it's 6 months, 12 months. Maybe 18 or 24 months, depending on the organization patience. We really haven't gone past the first step.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you.
It's the loneliest job in the industry.
Yeah. And I think I could have a whole separate conversation with you on that. And a lot of it, I'm sure it sounds like you're similar to me in that I tend to be an overthinker. And at times I feel like my, RAM overload. Because I'll say I have to stop because I've been thinking about this all day and I'm nowhere. It's another reason why I started going back to the old the old something I learned a long, long time ago about how we get to a solution.
Yeah.
And so what I typically do is I have 2 meetings, right? The first meeting is the whining session. And we start with what are all the symptoms?
Yeah.
You know, so that's collecting our data.
No, it feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels good. And I tell people no jump to solutions to the second day. So what people will tend to, you know, we need to do this, right? So I go, let's collect all the data. What are the symptoms, right? There's a fever, he's coughing, whatever, right? Again, now before we try to solve the problem, what do you think the root cause is, right? Like, why did we get there?
Why do we get there?
Well, he was in the air conditioning and, you know, all day long and was dehydrated, right? He was out in the middle of a rainstorm, whatever the root causes are. Well, after you do that, you can decompress and say, okay, now that we've collected all the data, what do we do?
What do we do?
Well, if you let people sit on that for 24 hours, they come back with such clarity.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Whereas in the moment, they're so frustrated, they just want to stamp out that symptom.
And it's fun. where we've got engagement, we're solving it. There's stuff all over the boards. We're pasting things up. The end, like, you know, it's like kind of always that they make the complex simple.
Yeah.
Like, what is the outcome? What are we trying to solve?
Yeah.
And then work it backwards onto the.
I love it, man. It's a good story. And again, I have at some point another great story about how we just did this for a client, and we thought we had to stop for all good reasons.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they did that analysis, and they called me and said, "Nope, we're going.
We've got it. We're
going.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
good
it was great. It was great. So as we wrap up, I want to shift gears a little bit one more time. And as you know, it's really important to me to understand why people are special. You know, like what kind of gifts have you been offered, and how do you feel you offer them to your friends and your family and your work and all the good stuff. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing, you know, what might be one of your superpowers?
Wow. Great question, Joe. So if I'm to step back and think, what do I think? What my superpower
It's a chance for you to brag a little bit. Yeah.
Well, now let me go big on this thing.
Go big.
My superpower is, I actually think I think and see the world in form of relationships and connections. I really, and I think I connect those dots well and quickly. And as I meet people and talk to people, we were doing it a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about how can we work together? How can we help each other? What's the relationship that matters? You know, maybe there's nothing direct, but maybe if we talk and I understand something else that I could do for you, that will come back. And so I think if I was to pick one superpower, it would be, I really do see the world in the form of relationships, and probably follow that. I just truly enjoy people.
I admire that, man. That's great. John, I want to thank you for stopping by
for
today, right? Have a great next 2 hours. I think we have 2 or 3 hours to hang in there.
Good.
And I hope our paths cross very soon.
Absolutely. Me too. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, sir.